December 17th, 1952, 0547 hours, Chosin Reservoir, North Korea, 35 degrees below zero, the kind of cold that turns breath to ice crystals before it leaves your lungs, the kind that makes metal stick to bare skin in seconds, the kind that kills as surely as any bullet. Brennan Calloway lies in a snow-covered crater, barely visible against the white landscape. 24 years old, 5'6", tall, 103 pounds, down from 124 when she deployed 18 months ago. She's been in this position for 11 hours, hasn't moved except to breathe. Through her rifle scope, a scope that shouldn't exist, built from salvaged aircraft glass and sealed with rendered animal fat, she watches a cluster of Chinese officers 800 yards distant. They're gathered around a field table, studying maps, making decisions that will kill American Marines if those decisions are allowed to be made. The scope is crude, improvised. Military optical engineers would declare it mechanically impossible. But it works. She's already proven that 307 times. The wind shifts, northwest, 12 miles per hour. She doesn't need instruments to know this. Grew up in Montana winters where reading wind meant the difference between eating and going hungry. Her finger rests on the trigger. Springfield Mem. 1903, A4. 30-06 round, chambered. At this range, she has to account for 28 inches of bullet drop. The wind will push the round another 6 inches right. She adjusts. Exhales slowly. The world narrows to the space between heartbeats. The senior officer, the one giving orders, the one the others defer to, lifts his binoculars to scan the American positions on the ridge. He's calm, confident, surrounded by 200 soldiers, machine gun nests, artillery support. What's one American sniper going to do against the entire People's Liberation Army? Brennan's crosshairs center on his forehead. She squeezes the trigger. The Springfield kicks against her shoulder. She's felt this recoil 307 times before. Each one a separate memory. Each one a separate face. Through the scope, she watches the officer's head snap back. He drops like a puppet with cut strings. The radio operator beside him freezes, trying to understand what just happened, trying to process that his commander just died and he never heard the shot. Brennan has already worked the bolt. Smooth, mechanical, no wasted motion. Second exhale. Second squeeze. The radio operator falls. 308. 309. Before the remaining officers can locate her position, she's moving. Backward crawl through the snow. 30 yards to secondary hide. Low, fast, invisible. She reaches cover just as artillery shells begin impacting where she was. The Chinese think they're smart. They triangulated the muzzle flash, sent a 155mm response. But Brennan Calloway is already gone, like a ghost. That's what they call her. The Chinese and North Koreans. They have a name for her in Mandarin that translates roughly to the Pale Wraith. The Americans don't know this. Intelligence won't intercept those radio transmissions for another 3 weeks. But the enemy knows. They've been trying to kill her for 6 months. They will try again today. Artillery continues to pound her previous position. 100-pound shells turning snow and rock into a maelstrom of shrapnel and concussion. It's deafening. Brennan waits. When the barrage finally stops, she'll move to a third position. Set up again. Wait for new targets. The Chinese will expose themselves eventually. They always do. That's when she'll kill more of them. Maybe 3 today, maybe 6. Depends on how many mistakes they make. She's patient. She's been patient her entire life. That patience has killed 309 men. By the end of this war, it will define her, but first, she has to survive it. Brennan Calloway was born July 8, 1926, in Livingston, Montana. Population, 1,847. A railroad town in a valley so narrow the mountains block the sun by 4 in the afternoon every winter. If you didn't work for the Northern Pacific Railway, you either left town at 18 or you hunted. Brennan's father, Thomas Calloway, maintained steam locomotives. 60-hour weeks, hands permanently stained with grease and coal dust. Strong, silent type who believed actions spoke louder than words, and that complaining was for people who hadn't worked hard enough. Her mother, Catherine, taught 3rd grade at the elementary school, firm but fair. The kind of teacher who demanded excellence because she believed every child was capable of it. Middle class by Montana standards, not wealthy, not poor, just working people. Nothing about young Brennan suggested she would become a killer. She was quiet, studious. The kind of girl who preferred books to dances. She loved history, ancient civilizations, the rise and fall of empires. She'd spend hours in the town's small library reading about Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, Napoleon. Men who changed the world through force of will. She never thought she'd join them. Spring 1940, Brennan was 13, about to turn 14. One Saturday afternoon at Swenson's general store, she heard voices from the back where men gathered to smoke and talk. Tommy Reichert was holding court, 15 years old, farm kid, broad shoulders from hauling hay bales, loud voice that carried. "Dropped a 6-point buck at 200 yards yesterday," Tommy bragged. "Clean shot. Old man said I'm ready to hunt alone next season." The other boys, all sons of ranchers and railroad workers, murmured appreciation. "Girls can't hunt, though," Tommy continued, louder now. "My sister tried once, couldn't even hold the rifle steady, cried when it kicked. That's just biology. Girls don't have the upper body strength, don't have the stomach for killing." Brennan was stacking canned goods nearby, pretending not to listen. Tommy noticed her. "Hey, Calloway, you ever shot a gun?" She looked at him, said nothing. "I asked you a question." "No," she said quietly. "See? Girls can't shoot. It's not their fault, just how they're built. Hunting's for men." Brennan finished her task, walked past Tommy without a word, but his words burned. Girls can't hunt. Girls don't have the strength. Girls don't have the stomach for killing. That night at dinner, she asked her father a question. "Dad, can you teach me to hunt?" Thomas Calloway looked up from his plate, studied his daughter. "Why?" "I want to learn." Learning to shoot's not about wanting, it's about necessity. You planning to put food on the table? Maybe, someday. Her father exchanged a glance with her mother. Catherine gave a small nod. "All right," Thomas said. "This Saturday, 5:30 a.m. Don't be late." Saturday morning, still dark, temperature 28 degrees and dropping. Thomas handed Brennan a Winchester Model 70, 30-06, same caliber she'd eventually use in Korea. "This rifle," he said, "will put a bullet exactly where you aim it. That means if you miss, it's your fault, not the gun's. Understand?" She understood. They hiked into the mountains, 3 miles. Elevation gain of 1,500 feet. Montana autumn. Cold seeping through her jacket. Her father showed her the basics. How to load, how to aim, how to breathe, how to squeeze, not pull, the trigger. "Hunting's not about being fast," he said. It's about being patient. Deer don't know you're there. Keep it that way. Wait for the right shot. Don't force it." She fired her first round at a paper target nailed to a dead pine tree, 100 yards. Missed completely. Her father said nothing, just handed her another round. She fired again, missed again. Her shoulder ached from the recoil. The rifle was heavy. Tommy Reichert's words echoed. "Girls don't have the strength." "What am I doing wrong?" she asked. Anticipating the recoil, flinching before the shot. "Control that." She fired a third time, hit the target. Not the bullseye, not even close, but she hit it. Her father nodded once. "Better." Over the next 4 years, Brennan hunted every weekend. Deer, elk. Sometimes just rabbits or squirrels when larger game was scarce. She learned patience, learned to sit motionless for hours in sub-zero cold, Learn to judge distance by eye within 25 yards. Learn to compensate for wind by watching how snow moved across open ground. Most importantly, she learned to not think about the kill. You line up the shot. You control your breathing. You squeeze the trigger. The animal drops. That's it. No emotion, no hesitation, just mechanics. By age 16, she could outshoot anyone in Livingston, including Tommy Reichert. September 1944. Brennan was 18, senior year at Park County High School. She'd become the best shot in town. Not that anyone paid much attention. Marksmanship wasn't a skill that impressed people, especially not for a girl. One afternoon, she was at the town shooting range, a 100-yard strip of land behind the hardware store, where local hunters sighted in their rifles. Tommy Reichert was there. 19 now, waiting for his draft number. Loud as ever, he was bragging to his friends about his shooting scores. Hit 9 out of 10 at 200 yards yesterday. Recruiter said that's better than most guys at basic. When I get to the Pacific, I'll rack up Jap kills like it's nothing. His friends nodded appreciatively, impressed. Tommy noticed Brennan setting up at the far end of the range. "Hey, Calloway, you still shooting?" She didn't respond, just continued adjusting her rifle rest. Tommy walked over. His friends followed. "I asked you a question." "I shoot," Brennan said quietly. "Yeah? What's your best score?" "Don't keep score." "That's convenient." He grinned at his friends. "Probably can't hit anything anyway. Girls aren't built for shooting, need upper body strength to handle recoil, need steady hands, need to not get emotional." Brennan loaded 5 rounds into her rifle, Winchester Model 70. Same rifle her father gave her 4 years ago. "What are you doing?" Tommy asked. "Shooting." She settled into position, controlled her breathing, aimed at the target, 200 yards downrange, fired, bullseye, worked the bolt, fired again, bullseye, 3 more shots, 3 more bullseyes, 5 shots, 5 perfect hits, grouping tight enough to cover with a silver dollar. She stood, ejected the empty brass, walked to her truck. Tommy stood silent. His friends stared. She never said a word, didn't gloat, didn't mock, just proved him wrong and left. This told you everything about Brennan Calloway. She didn't talk, didn't posture, didn't waste energy on anything except results. Someone challenged her, she outworked them. Someone doubted her, she proved them wrong, quietly, methodically, completely. By 1946, Brennan was enrolled at Montana State College in Bozeman, 40 miles from home, studying history with focus on military tactics and strategy. She wanted to understand war, not fight it, just study it. She read everything. Clausewitz, Sun Tzu, Liddell Hart, Fuller, the great military theorists. She wrote papers analyzing tactics at Cannae, Austerlitz, Gettysburg. She understood how battles were won and lost, how small decisions cascaded into large consequences. On weekends, she still hunted, still shot, but it was hobby now, not necessity. Her focus was academics. She wanted to be a professor, maybe write books, live a quiet intellectual life. She had no interest in killing people. Why would she? America wasn't at war. World War II had ended. Korea was some peninsula she couldn't find on a map. Her future was classrooms and libraries, not battlefields, not frozen mountains 8,000 miles from home, not 309 confirmed kills. Then the world caught fire, June 25th, 1950. 0400 hours Korean time. North Korean forces, 90,000 troops, 150 tanks, 500 artillery pieces, smashed across the 38th parallel into South Korea. The Korean People's Army moved like a tidal wave. Overwhelming, unstoppable. Within 3 days, they captured Seoul. Within 2 weeks, they'd driven South Korean and American forces into a small perimeter around Busan. The war that wasn't supposed to happen was happening. President Truman ordered full mobilization. every able-bodied man to report for duty, the entire nation thrown into another war just 5 years after the last one ended. Brennan was 23, fourth-year history student, 1 semester from graduation. She should have continued her studies, waited out the war. Women weren't being drafted, she was safe. But July 12, 1950, she received a telegram. Professor James Harlow, her mentor, her advisor, the man who'd encouraged her academic pursuits, had been reported killed in action. 8th Cavalry Regiment, last seen during ambush near Seoul. Body never recovered. He was 52 years old, World War II veteran, decorated, survived Normandy and the Bulge, came home, became a professor, taught for 8 years, then got called back to war, and died. Or so they said. Brennan stood in her dormitory room, holding the telegram, feeling something shift inside her. Professor Harlow had once told her, "History is written by those who show up. If you want the world to be different, you have to be willing to change it yourself." She thought he meant through teaching, through books. Now she understood he meant through action. She walked to the Army recruiting station in Bozeman that afternoon. The recruiting sergeant looked up from his desk. Young guy, 25 maybe, looked tired. "Help you, miss?" "I want to enlist." He blinked. "Enlist?" "Yes. Miss, we're not taking women for combat roles. If you want to serve, you can join the nurse course, or, I'm not a nurse. Then you can work in administration, clerical, communications, support roles." "I want to fight." The sergeant rubbed his face. "That's not possible. Women don't serve in combat positions." "Why?" "Because that's policy." "Is policy more important than winning?" "Excuse me?" "We're losing in Korea," Brennan said. Her voice was calm, matter of fact. "The 8th Army is retreating. Marines are outnumbered 10 to 1. We need every soldier who can fight. I can fight. Miss, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I can outshoot anyone in this building. Test me." The sergeant stared at her. "You serious?" "Test me." He stood, walked to the door, called to another soldier. "Corporal Dixon, get a rifle. We're going to the range." 10 minutes later, Brennan stood at a firing line with 6 male recruits, all of them being tested for marksmanship qualification. The sergeant set up targets at 300 yards, 5 shots each. Whoever groups tightest qualifies as expert marksman. The recruits fired. Scores ranged from 3 hits to 5 hits. Groupings varied from 8 inches to 14 inches. Brennan fired last. 5 shots, 5 hits, grouping 4 inches. The sergeant examined the target, looked at Brennan, back at the target. "This is 300 yards. "Yes, sir." "In combat, you'll be shooting at 5, 6, maybe 700 yards. "I can make those shots." "How do you know?" "Because I've been making them since I was 14. The sergeant pulled out a pack of cigarettes, lit one, smoked it slowly while staring at the target. Finally, "I can't enlist you for infantry. That's against regulations, but I can forward your file to Division Intelligence. They have specialized roles. If they're interested, they'll contact you." 3 weeks later, Brennan received orders to report to Fort Benning, Georgia. She was going to war. August 1950. Fort Benning. Brennan arrived, expecting basic training. Obstacle courses, drill sergeants, the standard military indoctrination. Instead, she was escorted to an unmarked building on the edge of the base. Inside, a conference room, one person waiting, Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Mitchell, 41 years old, intelligence officer, hard eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. "Miss Calloway, sit." Brennan sat. Mitchell opened a folder. "Your recruitment file says you requested combat duty, that you claim expert marksmanship capability. Sergeant Davis's report supports this. 300-yard grouping under 4 inches. Impressive." "Thank you, Ma'am." "Don't thank me yet. I need to understand what I'm dealing with. You're a college student, history major. No military background. Why do you want to fight? My professor was reported killed in Korea. And you want revenge? No, Mom, I want to be useful. Mitchell studied her. The army doesn't officially allow women in combat roles. However, we have programs, classified programs, where women serve as intelligence operatives, advisors, and in certain specialized capacities. These roles require absolute secrecy, no recognition, no glory. If you die, your death will be classified. Your family will be told you died in a training accident. Are you willing to accept that? Yes, Mom. Why? Because Professor Harlow taught me that some things are worth doing, even if no one knows you did them. Mitchell almost smiled, almost. We're exploring the viability of female snipers. The Soviets used them extensively in World War II. Over 2,000 women, some extremely effective. Lyudmila Pavlichenko alone killed 309 Germans. We want to determine if American women could fulfill similar roles. I can fulfill that role. Confidence is different from capability. Test me, Mitchell stood. Let's go to the range. They drove to an isolated training area. No other soldiers, just Mitchell, Brennan, and a range master. 600 yards, Mitchell said. Five targets. You have 10 shots. Wind is gusting at 15 miles per hour. Temperature is 94 degrees. High humidity. All factors affect ballistics. If you can hit 3 targets, I'll consider further training. If you can't, you'll be reassigned to clerical work. Brennan accepted the rifle. M1903, A4 Springfield. Same action as her Winchester, different stock, different weight. She'd never fired this exact rifle before. She checked the scope. Adjusted elevation, windage. Settled into firing position. First shot, target 1, center mass hit. Second shot, target 2, hit. Third shot, target 3, hit. Fourth shot, target 4, hit. Fifth shot, target 5, hit. 5 shots, 5 hits. Mitchell said nothing, just walked down range, examined each target, walked back. That was 5 shots. Yes, ma'am. I gave you 10. I only needed 5. This time Mitchell did smile. Small, brief. You're not going to clerical. Welcome to the program, Miss Calloway. Or should I say, Corporal Calloway. September 1950. Brennan spent 3 weeks in accelerated sniper training. She learned military fieldcraft, camouflage, stalking, range estimation, communications protocol. Skills she already had from hunting were refined. Skills she lacked were taught. Her instructor was Master Sergeant Frank Kellerman, 50 years old, World War II veteran, Pacific Theater, Guadalcanal, Peleliu, Iwo Jima. He'd killed 87 Japanese soldiers as a sniper. Killing animals and killing people are different, he told her on day 1. Animal dies, you eat it. Feel satisfaction. Person dies, you carry that forever. Every face, every shot. You think you're ready for that? I don't know, Brennan said honestly. Good. If you'd said yes, I'd have washed you out. Anyone who thinks they're ready to kill is exactly the wrong person to give a rifle. Kellerman taught her the difference between hunting and sniping. Hunter waits for game to appear. Sniper creates the conditions that make the enemy expose himself. Hunter takes whatever shot appears. Sniper takes only the shot that matters. Hunter kills to eat. Sniper kills to change the battlefield. He taught her about patience. You might wait 3 days for one shot, 72 hours in the same position, no food, no water, no sleep, just waiting. Can you do that? Yes, Sergeant. We'll see. He taught her about aftermath. You kill a man at 800 yards. Know what happens? His friends panic. They don't know where the shot came from. They spray bullets randomly. They call for artillery. They stop advancing. One dead officer can stop an entire battalion. That's leverage. That's why we exist. On her final training day, Kellerman gave her the rifle she'd carry to war. Springfield M19 03A4, Weaver 330C scope, 30-06 ammunition. This rifle, he said, is reliable, accurate, simple. Take care of it. It'll keep you alive. She took the rifle, felt the weight, the balance. Kellerman looked at her. You understand, once you do this, you can't undo it. First time you kill someone, you cross a line. You can't cross back. I understand. Do you? Professor Harlow died because we didn't have enough trained soldiers. If I can prevent more deaths like his, that's worth crossing the line. Kellerman was quiet for a long moment. Finally, good luck, Corporal. Bring that rifle home. October 3rd, 1950, Brennan deployed to Korea, flew from San Francisco to Tokyo, Tokyo to Busan, assigned to 1st Marine Division. Cover story, intelligence analyst. Real role, sniper. She met her spotter 2 days later. Corporal Elias Drummond, 26 years old, from Detroit, grew up in the Brewster Douglas projects, joined the Marines at 18, served in China during the tail end of World War II, saw some combat, not much. He was skeptical when they introduced him to his new partner. You're the sniper? Yes. No offense, but you look like you weigh maybe 100 pounds. 118. That rifle weighs 15 pounds. Add ammunition, equipment, you're carrying 40, 50 pounds. You can hump that through mountains. Can you keep up? Elias grinned despite himself. All right, let's see what you got. They trained together for 1 week before deployment to front line, learning each other's rhythms, how to communicate silently, how to move as one unit. Elias was good at his job. He could spot targets at incredible distances, could judge wind and range almost as well as Brennan, could direct fire and adjust for conditions. Most importantly, he didn't treat her differently because she was a woman. He treated her like a fellow Marine, expected competence, demanded it. She respected that. October 15th, 1950, they received their first combat assignment. Seoul had been retaken. UN forces were pushing north toward the 38th parallel. North Korean forces were in disarray, retreating, but still dangerous. Brennan and Elias were tasked with reconnaissance and target elimination near the Han River. North Korean troops were trying to regroup. Officers were trying to reorganize scattered units. Those officers needed to die. The position was a destroyed apartment building, 4 stories, southern exposure overlooking the river and the road beyond, good visibility, good cover. They set up on the 3rd floor, behind rubble that provided concealment but allowed clear sight lines. 400 yards across the river, North Korean soldiers were gathering, maybe 50 troops, 3 officers. They were studying maps, planning something. Elias glanced them through binoculars. Target, northern cluster, officer in the brown coat, he's giving orders, high value. Brennan tracked through her scope. Found him, brown coat, 40s, confident bearing, pointing at map, making decisions. This was her first real target, her first human being in crosshairs. She'd killed 100 deer, maybe more. This should feel similar. It didn't. This man was alive, thinking, making plans. He had a family somewhere, a history, dreams. In 10 seconds, he'd have none of that. Because Brennan Calloway was about to end his existence. She thought about Professor Harlow, how he'd died, or so she believed, because North Korean officers gave orders that sent soldiers to kill him. This officer was giving similar orders right now, orders that would kill Marines. Young men, 18, 19, 20 years old, kids, unless she stopped him, her breathing steadied, crosshairs on his chest, center mass, 400 yards, minimal wind, no complex calculation needed. She squeezed the trigger. The Springfield cracked. Through the scope, she watched the officer's chest explode. He fell backward, dead instantly. The soldiers around him scattered, panicking, trying to find cover. Elias already called the next target. "Second officer, moving left." Behind the truck, Brennan tracked, found him. He was running, scared. She led the target slightly, compensated for his movement, fired. He dropped mid-stride. Third officer was smarter. Dove behind cover immediately, stayed low, but he made one mistake. He leaned out to look toward where his friends had died, trying to identify the threat. Brennan's third shot took him through the throat. 3 officers, 3 shots, 3 kills, less than 30 seconds. Elias stared at her.
"You okay?" "Yes." "That was your first time?" "Yes." "Most people freeze up. Most people hesitate. You didn't. They were going to kill Marines. That's how you're thinking about it? Tactically? Is there another way?" Elias studied her face, looking for something. Emotion, shock, guilt. He found nothing. "No," he said quietly. "I guess there isn't." They relocated immediately. Standard procedure. Never shoot from the same position twice.
By sunset, Brennan had 7 confirmed kills, 7 North Korean soldiers who would never threaten another Marine. That night, Elias asked her how she felt. "Tired," she said. "That's it? Just tired? What else should I feel?" "I don't know, most people feel something." Brennan was quiet for a moment, then, "I feel useful." Elias nodded slowly. "Yeah, that makes sense." What he didn't say, what he thought but didn't voice, was that he'd just witnessed something unsettling. Most snipers struggled with their first kill, took time to process, to accept what they'd done. Brennan Calloway processed nothing. She'd killed 3 men like she was shooting targets at a range back in Montana. No hesitation, no emotional response, just cold, mechanical precision. Either she was the perfect soldier, born for this role, or she was something else entirely, something that didn't feel killing the way normal people did. Elias didn't know which. Time would tell. By the end of her first week in combat, Brennan had 20 confirmed kills. By the end of her first month, she had 36. The commanders noticed. Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell flew to Korea personally to meet with her. "Your numbers are exceptional," Mitchell said. "Better than any male sniper in theater. I need to understand how you're achieving this. I wait for the right shot, then I take it." "It's that simple?" "Yes, ma'am." Mitchell looked at her carefully. "Some of the psychological officers are concerned. They say most snipers show signs of stress by this point. Nightmares, hesitation, guilt. You're showing none of that." "Should I be?" "I'm asking you." Brennan considered this. "The men I kill are trying to kill Marines. If I don't shoot them, they'll shoot first. That's not a moral dilemma, that's mathematics." "War isn't mathematics, isn't it? We win by killing more of them than they kill of us. I'm contributing to that equation."
Mitchell was quiet for a long time. Finally, "Continue as you are, but Corporal Ware, remember that you're human. These aren't just targets, they're people."
"I know that, ma'am. Do you?" Brennan didn't answer. Mitchell left without another word. That night, alone in her tent, Brennan thought about the question. Did she know the enemy were people? Yes. Of course she did. Did it matter? She wasn't sure. What she knew was this: Professor Harlow was dead because someone shot him. If she could prevent more Professor Harlows from dying, she would, even if it meant killing 300 men, 300 lives to save thousands. That math made sense. Everything else was just noise. November 1950, Chinese forces entered the war. 250,000 troops pouring across the Yalu River. They struck with overwhelming force, surrounded UN troops, cut off supply lines. The war transformed from victory march to desperate survival. Brennan and Elias were ordered north to support Marines at Chosin Reservoir. That's where the real war would begin. That's where Brennan Calloway would become the ghost of Chosin. That's where 309 men would die by her hand. And that's where she'd discover that some mathematics have costs you can't calculate. until it's too late. November the 27th, 1950, Chosin Reservoir, North Korea. Brennan had 87 confirmed kills when she arrived at Chosin. She would have 222 more before she left. If she left. The Chosin Reservoir was a trap disguised as tactical position. 17 miles of frozen hell surrounded by mountains. 1st Marine Division, 15,000 troops, held defensive positions around the reservoir. Intelligence reported minimal Chinese presence, maybe a few scattered regiments. Intelligence was catastrophically wrong. 300,000 Chinese soldiers were hidden in those mountains, waiting. November 27th, 2200 hours, they attacked. Temperature 35 below zero. Wave after wave, bugles, whistles, tens of thousands of soldiers pouring down from the mountains. The Marines fought back, killed Chinese by the thousands. It didn't matter. For every Chinese soldier who fell, 3 more appeared. By dawn, the Marines were surrounded, cut off. 15,000 against 300,000. The siege of Chosin had begun. Brennan and Elias positioned on a ridge overlooking the southern approach. Good elevation, clear fields of fire. The first 3 days were constant combat. Chinese forces attacking in shifts, never stopping. Brennan fired until the rifle barrel glowed hot despite freezing temperature. Fired until her shoulder was one massive bruise. 87 kills became 100, 120, 140. Elias counted for her, called out numbers. That's 141, 142. Each number was a human being who stopped existing. After particularly difficult shots, threading bullets through narrow gaps, hitting targets at extreme range, something strange happened. Brennan smiled. Not joy, not happiness, just brief satisfaction, the way a craftsman feels completing difficult work perfectly. The first time Elias saw it, he said nothing, just watched, disturbed. The second time, he couldn't stay quiet. You smiled. Did I? You just killed someone and smiled. Me? Brennan looked at him, confused. I completed a difficult shot, 800 yards through 6-inch gap. That's professional satisfaction. That's not normal. What part of this is normal, Elias? He had no answer, but the smile haunted him. Because it meant she was good at this, that some part of her, buried deep, took pride in the skill. Not the killing, the skill. That distinction troubled him more than he wanted to admit. December 1st, morning. Temperature minus 38 degrees. Brennan looked through her scope to acquire a target. Chinese officer 600 yards distant. She centered crosshairs. Squeezed trigger. Nothing happened. The firing pin had frozen. Oil in the action congealed. Scope lens fogged with internal ice crystals. At 38 below, metal became brittle. Oil turned to sludge. Optics failed. Her rifle was dead. They went to supply. The sergeant laughed. Exhausted, not cruel. Lady, I got 300 rifles seized by cold. You think I got spare sniper scopes? No replacement. You're done sniping. 87 Marines died that day while Brennan sat useless. She thought, if I'd been shooting, how many would still be alive? Unacceptable. December 2nd, 0600 hours. Brennan walked the perimeter looking for anything usable, found it half buried in snow. F-4U Corsair, Navy fighter bomber, shot down 3 days ago, destroyed, but the canopy glass was mostly intact. She spent 2 hours cutting sections with her trench knife. Triple-layered laminated glass, optically clear, 2 pieces, different curvatures, held at different distances, magnification. She needed mounting, spent shell casings, brass from 30-06 rounds, cut to length, nested inside each other, telescoping tube, between sections, rubber gaskets from destroyed gas mask, absorb recoil, final assembly, parachute cord wrapped tight, 6 hours of work, hands bleeding from sharp metal. Finally, a scope, crude, improvised, impossible, but when she looked through it, she could see clearly at 600 yards. Elias stared. That's mechanically unsound. The lenses will shift with every shot. Test it. She mounted the scope, aimed at destroyed vehicle 800 yards distant, fired, hit 2 inches from marker, adjusted, fired again, dead center. Elias whispered, "Jesus Christ. I need to seal it, keep moisture out." She heated animal fat from rations until liquefied, applied to seams, waterproofing, December 3rd, 0800 hours, back in position, Chinese officer, 700 yards distant. One shot, he dropped. Her homemade scope held 0, kill number 144. And she smiled, small, brief, satisfaction of impossible achievement. Elias saw it, said nothing, but wrote in his journal that night, "She built a scope from trash and smiled when it worked, not because she could kill again, because she solved the problem. She's the best soldier I've ever seen, and that terrifies me." December 8th, 1950. Brennan had 187 confirmed kills. Then intelligence showed her a photograph. Professor James Harlow, the man whose death telegram she'd received in July. Not dead. Defected. The briefing officer explained, Harlow was reported KYA by corporal, who saw him fall during ambush, body never recovered. Never. 3 weeks later, Chinese radio intercepted mentioning American advisor. Voice matched, he'd been captured, then chose to stay. Elias found her staring at the photo. "You know him." "He was my professor, my mentor." "Why would he defect?" "He believed war was always wrong, that nationalism was disease. He'd rather advise the enemy than participate in what he saw as American imperialism." "That's insane." "That's Professor Harlow, idealist to the end. Can you kill him?" The question hung in frozen air. Could she? This was the man who'd encouraged her academic pursuits, who'd believed in her. Now he was the enemy. "I don't know," she said quietly. "You better figure it out, because he's coming for you." December 10th, Harlow positioned in ruins of stone building, 800 yards from Brennan's sector, killed 2 Marines that morning, both headshots, professional, then left a note, tied to rock, thrown where Marines would find it. "Brennan, I know you're here. I taught you well, but not well enough. Go home. This war is wrong. Both sides are wrong. Don't die for a lie." Brennan read it, felt something cold settle in her chest. "He's trying to get in your head," Elias said. "It won't work." "You sure?" "He's made a mistake. He thinks I'm still his student, that I'll respond emotionally, but I'm not a student anymore. I'm a sniper, and he just gave away his position." She studied trajectories of the shots, calculated angles. "He's in the stone building, northwestern corner, 3rd floor. You can't confirm without seeing him." "I don't need to see him. He's there." December 11th, dawn. Brennan in position 720 yards from stone building. Behind rubble, she'd been there 9 hours. Since midnight. Hadn't moved. Waiting. Sunrise 7:42 hours. In the stone building, 3rd floor, northwestern corner. Movement. Brief shadow. Professor Harlow settling into his hide. He was good. Moved minimally, didn't expose himself, but he underestimated how well she'd learned. Every technique he taught her, she'd refined. Every principle improved. She was better now. 0806 hours. Harlow leaned forward, adjusting scope, looking for targets. 3 seconds. Head visible through gap in rubble. Brennan had aimed at that exact gap for 9 hours. Waiting for those 3 seconds. She didn't think, didn't hesitate, didn't feel. Squeeze trigger. 720 yards. Crosswind. Shooting upward. Bullet traveled 1.8 seconds. Professor James Harlow died instantly. Shot through temple. He never saw her. Never knew where the shot came from. Brennan worked bolt. Chambered new round. kept crosshairs on position. No one came to help him. He'd been operating alone. She waited 30 minutes, making sure. Finally, relocated. That night, Marine Patrol found his body. His notebook. Last entry. She's here. The student I taught. I wonder if she learned enough. I wonder if she'll have courage to pull trigger when it's someone she knows. I hope she doesn't. But if she stays, one of us will die. Probably me. She was always better at follow-through. They gave notebook to Brennan. She read it once, burned it. Kill count, 187. She didn't think about who that kill was. Couldn't afford to. December 13th. Intelligence intercepted new communications. Chinese deploying another counter-sniper. But this one was different. A woman. Sergeant Park Min-seo, 23, North Korean People's Army, 109 confirmed kills. The first female sniper duel in military history was about to begin. Brennan studied intelligence photos. Park was young, determined, peasant background, fighting for what she believed was liberation. She's good, Elias said. Took out South Korean sniper team last month, both shooters, clean. How does she operate? Patient, like you. Doesn't take unnecessary shots, relocates constantly. So I'm fighting myself. Essentially. For 3 days they hunted each other. Day 1, Park took position in destroyed warehouse, killed Marine machine gunner at 600 yards, vanished before anyone could locate her. Brennan searched, never found her. Day 2, Park left message, tied to rock, written in English, Sister Sniper, we fight same war, different sides, both pawns of men who stay safe. Go home, don't die for their lies. Elias read it. She's messing with your head. No, she means it, she believes it. Does that change anything? She'll still kill Marines if I don't stop her. Day 3. Brennan located Park's pattern. She favored positions with multiple exits, always left escape routes. Smart, but predictable once you understood. Brennan set up covering all 3 exits, waited 1,400 hours. Park appeared, moving between positions. Exposed, 4 seconds. Clear shot. Center mass, 500 yards, easy. Through scope, Brennan could see her clearly. Young, carrying her rifle, moving carefully. A soldier doing her duty, just like Brennan. Park was fighting for what she believed was right. For her country, for liberation. She wasn't evil, just on wrong side of line drawn by politicians. Brennan thought about Professor Harlow's words. Everyone is the hero of their own story. Park Min-seo was hero of her story, and Brennan was about to end it. Her finger rested on the trigger. Started to squeeze, then stopped. Lowered rifle. Elias whispered urgently, "What are you doing? Take the shot." "No. She'll kill Marines." "Maybe, but not today. Today, she gets to live." Park disappeared into building. Safe. Alive. She never knew how close she'd come to dying. Brennan felt strange. This was the first time since arriving in Korea that she'd had kill opportunity and chosen not to take it. Not from fear. Not from doubt about capability. From recognition that the person in her crosshairs was human. Was her. In different circumstances, that night she couldn't sleep. Not from nightmares. From thinking. 187 kills, each one necessary. Each one saved American lives. But Park Min-seo, also necessary to kill. She'd spared. Why? Because she was a woman? No. Brennan had killed plenty of men who deserved life as much as Park. Because of the message? The recognition of shared experience? She didn't know. What she knew? Something had shifted. Some calculus had changed. She was still a soldier. Still a killer. But not just a machine anymore. Kill count remained 187. Some kills you choose not to make. Those matter too. December 18th, Chinese deployed professional counter-sniper team. 3 men? Soviet-trained. They'd hunted partisans in Manchuria. They came specifically to eliminate the Pale Wraith. Set up in overlapping positions, triangulated fields of fire, waited for Brennan to shoot so they could locate muzzle flash. Good plan, professional. But Brennan didn't shoot. For 3 days, silent. Just observed, learned their patterns. The team grew frustrated. Where was the legendary sniper? December 21st, they made mistake. All 3 repositioned simultaneously, thinking coordinated movement was safer. But repositioning meant exposure. Brennan had predicted this. 3 positions pre-aimed. 3 lanes of fire. First sniper exposed 2 seconds. She fired. He dropped. Second tried to locate her. Exposed 3 seconds. She fired. He dropped. Third went low. Smart. Stayed hidden. She waited. 15 minutes. 30. 45. He thought she'd moved. Carefully raised head. She'd never moved. Still aimed at his exact location. 1 shot. He dropped. 3 enemy snipers eliminated in 17 minutes. After the 3rd kill, impossible triple elimination, she smiled. Couldn't help it. Perfect execution. Elias saw it. The smile, brief. Satisfied. He wrote in journal. 3 men dead. She smiled. Not cruel, not happy. Just proud of her work, like artist completing masterpiece. I don't know what she's becoming, but it's not entirely human anymore. Chinese intelligence reports, intercepted weeks later, showed their fear. The American ghost cannot be killed. She sees in dark, knows where we are before we arrive. And after kills, soldiers report seeing her face briefly. She is smiling, not evil smile, satisfied smile, like wolf after successful hunt. This terrifies troops more than kills. She enjoys her work. Brennan read translation of that report months later. The smile bothered her more than anything else, because she didn't understand it, didn't plan it, just happened, after perfect shots, after demonstrating mastery. What kind of person smiles while killing? She didn't have answer, but the smile kept happening. December 20th, kill count, 254. Brennan was exhausted, lost 22 pounds, hadn't slept more than 3 hours at time in weeks, but kept shooting. December 22nd, siege in 4th week, Marines running out of everything. Command decided, break out, fight through Chinese encirclement, retreat to coast, 80 miles, through enemy territory, sub-zero temperatures, fighting withdrawal. Brennan and Elias assigned rear guard, covering retreat. December 23rd, breakout began. Brennan killed 15 Chinese soldiers that day, then displaced, leapfrogged to next position, killed more, methodical, mechanical, shoot, move, shoot, move. December 28th, Marines had fought 30 miles, still 50 to coast, still surrounded. Brennan had 307 confirmed kills. Then everything went wrong. Intelligence reported Chinese planning major offensive. 40,000 troops attack from staging area 5 miles north. If Marine snipers could eliminate key officers before attack launched, maybe disrupt it, delay it. Long shot. But Brennan was good at long shots. 6-person team organized. Brennan, Elias. 4 Marines for security. December 29th, 0300 hours. They moved out. 3 hours moving through darkness, through enemy territory, silent, slow, reached position, ridgeline overlooking valley, perfect view of Chinese staging area. Brennan set up. Through scope, saw Chinese officers, dozens, planning. She identified senior commander, distinguished by how others deferred. Range 823 yards, wind gusting, difficult but manageable. She aimed, breathed, waited for wind to settle, then heard it. Gunfire behind her. The security team was engaged. Enemy forces. Someone had leaked their position. Ambush. 4 Marine security guards died in first 10 seconds. Elias grabbed Brennan.
"We need to go!" They ran, but Elias was hit. Leg went down. Brennan dragged him behind cover, barely enough. Chinese soldiers advancing. 20, maybe more. She had her rifle, not enough firepower. "Leave me," Elias said. "Get ill, get out." "No. I'm dead anyway." Shut up." She looked through scope. Rapid target acquisition. Started shooting. Fast. Working bolt as quick as possible. 5 Chinese down in 15 seconds. Others went to ground, confused. Brennan used confusion.
Grabbed Elias, started dragging. He was heavy. She was exhausted, but pulled him. 30 yards, 50. More gunfire. Something hit her ribs. Left side, knocked wind out. Shrapnel, rock fragments. Kept moving. Made it to ravine. Cover. Temporary safety. She checked Elias. Leg wound bad. Arterial. Blood everywhere. She tried to stop bleeding. Field dressing. Pressure. Not enough. Elias looked at her. Face pale. Shock. "Tell my mother," he started. "Tell her yourself." "Brennan, listen, I'm not making it. You need to hear this. You're best soldier I ever met. Best sniper. Best Marine. But you're not machine. Remember that. You're human. What you did here, it matters. You saved thousands. Don't forget that when nightmares come. Elias, promise me. Promise you'll remember you're human. I promise." He smiled, small, sad. "You're terrible liar." Then he died. Brennan sat there, holding his body in ravine in North Korea, surrounded by enemies, covered in blood. For first time since war began, she cried. Not from fear, not from pain, from loss. Elias Drummond was only person in this war who'd treated her like person instead of weapon. Now, he was gone. She sat 10 minutes, just holding him. Then heard voices. Chinese soldiers searching. She couldn't stay. Left Elias's body. Took his dog tags. Started moving. 3 miles back to Marine lines. At night. Through enemy territory. Wounded. Alone. 6 hours. She made it. Reported to command. Told them about ambush. About deaths. Someone leaked our position. Someone told Chinese exactly where we'd be. Intelligence investigated. 48 hours later found the leak. Captain Garrett Huxley, supply officer, selling information to Chinese for gold. Small things at first, then bigger. Patrol routes, sniper positions, ambush coordinates. He'd sold Brennan's team for $3,000 in gold. 4 Marines dead, Elias dead, because of greed. They arrested Huxley on January 2nd. Brennan asked permission to be present at interrogation. Denied, but she saw him once, in stockade, under guard. Their eyes met through bars. She said nothing, just stared. He looked away first. January 8th, Garrett Huxley was found dead in cell, strangled, belt around neck. Investigation ruled suicide. But everyone knew. Stockade guard reported. Late that night, he'd stepped away briefly. Bathroom, 3 minutes. When he returned, Huxley was dead. No one else had access, except, guards whispered, someone had bribed him, paid him to look away, someone who wanted Huxley dead. They never found who. Brennan was in medical tent that night, witnesses confirmed. But money had changed hands. Justice had been served. Marine justice, not court-martial justice. The kind that happens when betrayal kills brothers. No one investigated too hard. No one wanted to. January 15th, 1951. Marines broke out of Chosin. Reached coast. Evacuated. Of 15,000 trapped, 13,000 made it, 2,000 didn't. Brennan was among survivors, 307 confirmed kills. But war wasn't done with her yet. Back to December 17th, 1952, the opening scene. Brennan in snow-covered crater, 11 hours motionless, 307 kills behind her. One more mission, one more day. Chinese commander stood clear, 800 yards, protected by 200 soldiers. Brennan smiled, small, brief, the smile that terrified Chinese troops. The smile she didn't understand but couldn't stop. She fired. Kill number 308. Radio operator tried to run. She fired again. Kill number 309. Then artillery came. Chinese forces triangulated muzzle flash. Bracketed position. 155mm shells. High explosive, 20 rounds, 30 seconds. Ground erupted. World became noise and fire. Brennan tried to move, tried to escape. Concussion wave hit her, threw her backward, slammed into collapsed bunker. Everything went black. When she woke, buried. Tons of frozen earth and snow on top, pressing down, crushing. This is how it ends, she thought. Not shot, not captured, suffocated under weight of her own war. Tried to move, couldn't, trapped. Tried to breathe, barely any air. Panic, first real fear since arriving Korea. She was going to die here, alone, buried, forgotten. Time lost meaning, minutes, hours. Then heard something, muffled, distant, voices, shouting, digging, Marines, looking for survivors. She tried to scream, couldn't, no air. Tried to move, couldn't, no strength, just lay there. Dying. Then light, sudden, blinding, hands pulling her, dragging her from snow, from grave. She gasped, air, cold, painful, beautiful. We got one, medic! Someone checking her, assessing damage. She's alive, barely, ribs broken, internal injuries, get her on stretcher. They carried her away from battlefield, away from frozen crater where she'd killed 309 men, away from war. Brennan Calloway's combat was over, she'd survived, but question remained, had survival been worth what she'd done to achieve it? That question would haunt her for rest of her life, and the smile, that brief, satisfied smile after perfect kills, would haunt her most of all, because it meant some part of her had enjoyed the work, not the killing, the mastery, and she'd never know if that made her monster or just human. January 1951. Walter Reed, Army Medical Center, Washington, D.C. Brennan woke to white walls and the smell of disinfectant. Not Korea, not frozen mountains, not battlefields. A hospital. She tried to sit up. Pain exploded through her ribs. Everything hurt. A nurse appeared, young, maybe 22, kind eyes. Easy, Corporal. You've been through a lot. 4 broken ribs, severe contusion to your left lung, frostbite on fingers and toes, multiple lacerations from shrapnel. You're lucky to be alive. Lucky. Brennan didn't feel lucky. She felt empty. How long have I been here? 3 weeks, unconscious for the first 5 days, medically induced coma while your lung healed. 3 weeks, January now, the war continued without her. The other soldiers from Chosin-Sum, most of 1st Marine Division made it out. You should be proud what you all accomplished. Historians are calling it one of the greatest fighting retreats in history. Retreat. That's what survival looked like. Running away, leaving bodies behind, leaving Elias behind. I need to make a phone call, Brennan said. You should rest. I need to call Detroit. Corporal Elias Drummond's mother. She needs to know how her son died. The nurse's expression softened. The army has already notified next of kin. The army told her he died. I need to tell her he died a hero, that he saved my life, that his last words were about her. The nurse nodded. I'll bring a phone. February 1951. Brennan spent 6 weeks at Walter Reed, physical therapy, learning to breathe properly with damaged ribs, regaining strength. The physical wounds healed faster than the others. She couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw faces. 309 faces. Some clear, some blurred, all dead. The psychiatrist assigned to her was Dr. Philip Kowalski, 58, World War II veteran, artillery observer at Anzio. He understood combat. Corporal Calloway, you're experiencing severe battle fatigue, nightmares, flashbacks, insomnia. This is normal after prolonged combat exposure. I don't want normal, I want it to stop. It won't stop. Not completely. You killed 309 enemy combatants. That's an extraordinary number. Each death leaves an imprint. Your brain is trying to process what you experienced. I was doing my duty. I know, but duty doesn't erase memory. You can do the right thing and still be traumatized by it. He paused. There's something else troubling you. Something beyond combat kills. Brennan was quiet for a long moment. Captain Huxley, the man who sold our position, got Elias killed, got 4 other Marines killed. The supply officer who was arrested for espionage, I read the report, he died in custody. Suicide. It wasn't suicide. Dr. Kowalski's expression didn't change. What makes you say that? Everyone knew. Someone got to him, strangled him, made it look like he hung himself. Did you kill him, Corporal? No. Did you arrange it? No, but I wanted to. When I heard he was dead, I felt... She struggled for the word. Relief, satisfaction. He deserved to die, and I'm glad he's dead. Does that make me as bad as him? No, it makes you human. He betrayed his fellow soldiers, got them killed for money. Feeling satisfaction at his death doesn't make you a murderer. It makes you someone who values justice. But I didn't feel guilty. I should feel guilty that someone was killed outside of combat, outside of law. But I don't. That troubles you? Yes. In Korea, I killed 309 men and questioned whether it was right, but Huxley, one traitor, dies, and I feel nothing but satisfaction. What does that say about me? Dr. Kowalski leaned forward. It says you have a moral compass. In war, you killed because it was necessary. You questioned it because they were human beings. Huxley betrayed that necessity, betrayed the Marines who trusted him. Your lack of guilt about his death isn't sociopathy. It's proportional response to betrayal. But I'm complicit. I knew it wasn't suicide. I never reported my suspicions. Would you have, if asked directly? Brennan thought about this. No, I would have stayed silent, let it go, because he deserved what he got. Then carry that, like you carry the 309. Acknowledge it. Don't pretend it didn't happen, but don't let it define you either. She met with Dr. Kowalski 3 times a week for 2 months. The nightmares didn't stop, but she learned to live with them. March 1951. Brennan was preparing for medical discharge when she received orders to report to the Pentagon, not a request. Orders. She reported in dress uniform. The uniform felt strange. Too clean, too formal. A lieutenant colonel met her, escorted her to a conference room. Inside, 4 generals, 2 colonels, 3 civilians in suits. Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Mitchell was there, the woman who'd recruited her. Corporal Calloway, one of the generals said. Sit. She sat. Your service record is extraordinary. 309 confirmed enemy kills, highest individual count in Korea, possibly the highest in American military history. Yes, sir? The Pentagon believes your story could be valuable for morale, for recruitment. We'd like to declassify portions of your service and present you to the American people as... No, sir. Silence. The general blinked. Excuse me? I said no, sir. respectfully. You understand this isn't a request. You can't order me to do this, sir. I'm being medically discharged. I'll be a civilian in 2 weeks. Another general spoke, older, more stars. Miss Calloway, your country needs you. Not on the battlefield, on the home front. Americans need to see what one determined soldier can accomplish. They need heroes. I'm not a hero, sir. I'm just someone who survived. You killed 309 enemy combatants. I know, sir, I remember everyone. Then you should be proud. Brennan looked at him, really looked at him. This general who'd probably never pulled a trigger in combat. Sir, with respect, I'm not proud. I did my duty. I followed orders. I saved American lives, but I killed 309 human beings. Sons, brothers, fathers. They were following orders too. I don't regret what I did, but I won't celebrate it. And I won't be turned into propaganda. The room was silent. Finally, the oldest general spoke. What if the president asks you personally? Then I'll tell the president the same thing I'm telling you. I did my job. Now let me go home. Mitchell caught her in the hallway afterward. That took courage. Saying no to 4 generals. It took honesty. They want me to lie, to pretend war is glorious. It's not. No, it's not. Mitchell studied her. What will you do now? Go back to Montana, finish my degree, maybe become a professor. Like Professor Harlow wanted you to be. Brennan flinched. Yes, ma'am. He made his choice. You made yours. Don't carry his death differently than the others. But he is different. He was an enemy combatant, just like the 308 before him. You did your duty. Brennan nodded, but she didn't believe it. Professor Harlow would always be different. 2 days before her discharge, she received a call from the White House. President Harry Truman wanted to meet with her. April the 15th, 1951, Oval Office. President Truman stood when she entered, gestured to a chair. Corporal Calloway, thank you for coming. Mr. President, I've read your file. What you accomplished in Korea is remarkable. 309 confirmed kills. You personally saved countless American lives. I was doing my job, sir. Yes, but your job was extraordinary. I want to award you the Medal of Honor. Brennan was quiet for a long moment. Mr. President, I appreciate the honor, but I have to decline. Truman raised an eyebrow. Decline? Yes, sir, the Medal of Honor should go to people who gave their lives, who sacrificed everything. I survived.
Corporal Elias Drummond didn't. He died saving me. He deserves recognition, not me. We can honor both of you. No, sir. If you want to honor me, give his family the medal. Tell them their son was a hero. Tell them he mattered. Truman studied her. This young woman who'd killed 309 enemy soldiers, who'd survived hell, who was refusing America's highest military honor. You're an unusual person, Miss Calloway. I'm just tired, sir. I have another request.
Not an order, a request. The war in Korea is going poorly. Chinese forces are pushing us back. American morale is low. The United Nations is debating intervention. I need someone to go to Europe, to address the UN, to explain what we're fighting for. You want me to be propaganda. I want you to tell the truth about what you saw, what you experienced. Let the world understand what's happening in Korea. And if the truth doesn't support your position, then you tell the truth anyway. I'm not asking you to lie. I'm asking you to share your experience. Can you do that? Brennan thought about Elias, about Professor Harlow, about 309 faces. Yes, sir. I can do that. Good. You'll leave next week. Mr. President, I need to be clear about something. I'll tell the truth. But the truth is complicated. War isn't simple. Right and wrong aren't always clear. I know that, Miss Calloway. I dropped atomic bombs on Japan. I understand moral complexity. Tell your truth. That's all I ask. April 1951. United Nations Headquarters, New York City. Brennan stood in the delegates' lounge before her address, uncomfortable in a new dress uniform, surrounded by diplomats and press. A reporter from the New York Times approached. "Corporal Calloway, David Preston Times. Can I ask you a few questions?" "Yes." "You're the first American woman to address the General Assembly about combat operations. How does that feel?" "I'd rather be back in Montana." Preston smiled, thought she was joking. She wasn't. "Tell me about Korea. What's it like fighting there?" "Cold, brutal. Soldiers die every day, both sides. But American forces are winning, aren't they?" "Depends how you define winning. We're not losing, but we're not winning either. It's a stalemate. Men dying over frozen mountains that don't matter to anyone except the people dying." Preston's smile faded. "That's a pretty bleak assessment." "That's an honest assessment," a female reporter from Paris Match interrupted, French accent, elegant. "Mademoiselle Calloway, may I ask, do you wear makeup when you fight?" Brennan stared at her. "What? Makeup? Lipstick? Do you maintain your appearance, even in combat?" The room went quiet, other reporters leaning in. Brennan felt something cold settle in her chest. "I wore blood, enemy blood, my friend's blood. I wore frostbite scars and shrapnel wounds. I wore exhaustion and fear and 3 months without a shower. I didn't have time for lipstick. I was busy killing people who were trying to kill me." The French reporter stepped back. Preston jumped in. "Corporal, you mentioned killing people. 309 confirmed kills. How does it feel to have killed that many enemy soldiers?" "How should it feel? Pride? Satisfaction? It feels heavy. Every night I see their faces. 309 faces. Some were soldiers doing their duty. Some were kids, following orders they didn't understand. I killed them all. Was that right? Was that wrong? I don't know anymore. But they were the enemy. They were human beings, with families, with lives. I ended those lives because it was necessary. Because if I didn't, they'd end American lives. But necessary doesn't mean good. It just means necessary." The reporters looked uncomfortable. That evening, newspapers ran conflicting headlines. New York Times, "Female Sniper Questions War's Morality," Washington Post, "Soldiers' Candor Raises Uncomfortable Questions." The Pentagon was furious, Mitchell called her. "Brennan, what did you do?" "I told the truth. You were supposed to boost morale. You sent the wrong person if you wanted propaganda. I told them what war actually is, cold and brutal and morally complicated." Mitchell was quiet. "Then? The UN address is tomorrow. Are you going to say the same things?" "I'm going to tell the truth. That's what President Truman asked me to do." "Good. Then do it. Damn the consequences." April 18th, 1951, UN General Assembly. 700 delegates from 60 nations. Press gallery packed. Cameras everywhere. Brennan stood at the podium, looking out at faces from countries she'd never visited. She was supposed to read a prepared speech, written by State Department officials. She'd read it. It was lies. Polished, professional, empty. She folded the speech, put it in her pocket, spoke from her heart instead. "Members of the Assembly, my name is Corporal Brennan Calloway. I've spent the last 18 months fighting in Korea. I've killed 309 enemy combatants. I was sent here to tell you why the United Nations should support American intervention in Korea. Why this war is just. Why we're the good guys." She paused. "I can't do that, because I don't know if it's true." Gasps, whispers, shock. "I killed 309 men, young men, most of them conscripts, farmers from Manchuria, workers from Pyongyang. They didn't choose this war. Their governments chose for them, just like my government chose for me. I was told they were the enemy, that killing them would save American lives, and that's true. Every enemy soldier I killed couldn't kill American Marines. The mathematics work."
But here's what the mathematics don't account for. Those 309 men were human beings. They had mothers who loved them. They had dreams. They thought they were the heroes. They thought they were defending their homeland from invaders. Were they wrong? I don't know anymore. The North Koreans invaded South Korea. That's fact. But why? Because they believed in reunification. Because they believed the South's government was oppressive. Because they believed they were liberating their people. Were they right? No, violence is never right. But were they evil? Just monsters to be killed without thought? I don't think so. The delegates were silent, stunned. I stand before you today, not as an advocate for war, but as someone who's seen what war actually costs. 309 families will never see their sons again because of me. Because I was good at my job, because I followed orders. Should I be proud of that? The Pentagon thinks so. They wanted me to stand here and tell you war is glorious, that American soldiers are unstoppable. But war isn't glorious. It's young men freezing to death in mountains. It's watching your friends die. It's killing people and carrying their faces forever. I don't know if American intervention in Korea is right or wrong. What I know is that 309 men are dead, and I'm the one who killed them. If you want to support this war, know what you're supporting. You're supporting more death, more families destroyed, more young men broken by what they're forced to do. If that's acceptable to you, if that's worth the political goals being pursued, then send your soldiers, send your weapons, send your support. But don't pretend it's heroic. Don't pretend it's glorious. It's just killing, efficient, necessary, brutal, honest killing. That's my truth. That's what I came here to say. She stepped away from the podium. The assembly erupted. Brennan walked out. Didn't look back. May 1951. Brennan returned to Montana. No parade, no recognition, no ceremony. Just a 24-year-old woman trying to figure out how to live after killing 309 people. She re-enrolled at Montana State College, finished her history degree in 1953, then continued to graduate school, doctorate program.
Focus on military ethics and the morality of warfare. Her dissertation, The Moral Weight of Necessary Evil, Combat Killing and Post-War Conscience. She interviewed hundreds of veterans, World War II, Korea, asked them about killing, about aftermath. Most didn't want to talk. A few did. Those conversations taught her she wasn't alone, that every soldier who'd killed carried weight. That duty didn't erase conscience. 1955, she completed her doctorate. Dr. Brennan Calloway, 28 years old, Montana State offered her a position, assistant professor of history. She accepted. Her first lecture was on the Korean War. 40 students, all male. This semester we'll study war, not the glory, not the strategy, not the great generals. We'll study the cost, the human cost, what war does to people who fight it, what it does to people who survive it. A student raised his hand. Professor, do you have combat experience? She hesitated. Most of her service record remained classified. Yes, I served in Korea. As what? As someone who did things I'm still trying to understand. Over 30 years, she built a reputation, not as the ghost of Chosin, as Dr. Calloway, the professor who taught military ethics, who challenged students to think deeply about war's morality. 1973, a former student visited her office. Professor, I've been drafted. Vietnam, I'm scared. You should be scared. Fear is the appropriate response to war. But I don't want to go. I don't think this war is right. Then don't go. What? If you believe this war is wrong, don't participate. Go to Canada. Accept the consequences, but don't fight in a war you don't believe in. You'll carry that forever. Easy for you to say. Brennan looked at him. This young man, 19. I was there. Different war. Same questions. I fought, I killed, I did my duty, and I've questioned it every day since. If I could go back, knowing what I know now, would I still fight? I don't know. But I know this. Don't let anyone else make that decision for you. You decide, and you live with your decision. The student went to Canada. Brennan never heard from him again. But she thought about him often. 1979. The Pentagon declassified portions of Korean War operations, including Brennan's service record. Suddenly, after 28 years of silence, her story became public. The press descended on Livingston, Montana. Brennan refused all interviews until one persistent reporter from the Washington Post camped outside her house for 3 days. Finally, she agreed to talk. Once. The interview ran as a 5,000-word feature. Title: The Sniper Who Regrets. Excerpt: When asked how she feels about her 309 confirmed kills, Dr. Calloway doesn't hesitate. I feel the weight of it. Every day, every night. I see their faces. Not all of them, but enough. I did what I believed was necessary. I saved American lives. But I took human lives. Both things are true, and I'll carry both truths until I die. The article made her famous. Briefly. But Brennan didn't change. Still taught. Still lived quietly. 1982. She met Dr. Robert Kavanagh, professor of philosophy, widower, World War II veteran, infantry, Europe. He understood things civilians never would. They became friends, then more. They married in 1984. Small ceremony, family only. Robert knew her history, never asked her to talk about it unless she wanted to. Most days she didn't. Some days she did. Those days they'd sit together, and she'd talk about Elias, about Professor Harlow, about the cold, about the killing. Robert would listen, wouldn't judge, just listened. That was enough. 1990. The Gulf War started. Brennan wrote an op-ed for the New York Times. A veteran's plea: count the cost before counting on war. Wow. Excerpt: I killed 309 enemy soldiers in Korea. I did my duty. I saved American lives. But 40 years later, I can tell you with certainty, war should always be the last option. Not because I'm a pacifist, but because I know what war costs. And that cost is paid by young people who don't make the decision to fight. Soldiers don't choose war. Politicians do, but soldiers pay the price for the rest of their lives. Veterans groups criticized her, called her unpatriotic. She didn't care. She'd earned the right to speak. 309 times over. 2001. September 11th. Brennan watched the towers fall. She knew what was coming. Another war. Afghanistan. Iraq. Young soldiers deployed. She started teaching. The ethics of counterinsurgency warfare. Pact enrollment. War against insurgents is different from conventional war, she told them. The enemy isn't an army, it's an idea, and you can't kill an idea with a rifle. You can kill people who hold that idea, but the idea survives, it spreads, and suddenly you're not fighting one enemy, you're fighting a population. That's a war you can't win militarily. A student. So what should we do? Not fight? Fight if you must, but understand what you're fighting, and understand that every insurgent you kill creates more insurgents. It's a cycle that only ends when someone chooses to stop killing. That sounds like surrender. No, it sounds like wisdom, which looks like surrender to people who've never fought. 2010, Brennan was 83, still teaching part-time. That year, a young female Marine visited her office. Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell, 25, granddaughter of the Colonel Mitchell who'd recruited Brennan. Professor Calloway, my grandmother said I should meet you before I deploy. Where? Afghanistan, Helmand Province, forward observer. Combat role. Yes, ma'am. Brennan studied her. Same age Brennan had been at Chosin. Your grandmother was a good officer. She gave me the opportunity to serve. But she also understood the cost. Did she talk to you about that? She said you were the best soldier she ever worked with, and the one who struggled most with what you'd done. She's right on both counts. Are you prepared for that, to be good at something terrible? I don't know. Good, that's the right answer.
Grandmother said you killed 309 enemy combatants. Do you regret it? Brennan was quiet. I regret that it was necessary. I don't regret doing my duty, but I regret that we live in a world where killing 309 people is considered heroic. It shouldn't be. It should be tragic. Then why did you do it? Because young men were dying, American Marines. If I didn't kill, they'd be killed. That math made sense to me at 24.
At 83, I'm not sure anymore. Lieutenant Mitchell deployed 2 months later, survived, lost 3 soldiers from her unit, came home, changed, visited Brennan again in 2012. You were right about the cost, about carrying it. I'm sorry I was right. I killed 6 Taliban fighters. 6, not 300, just 6, and I see them every night. That's normal, that's being human. How do you live with 309? Badly, but I live. That's all any of us can do. Live, and try to make the living mean something. June 2015. Brennan Calloway was 88. She'd stopped teaching 2 years earlier. Robert had died in 2013. That June, she received an invitation. The Smithsonian was opening a new exhibit, Women in Combat, Hidden Histories. They wanted to display her homemade scope. She attended the opening. The scope sat in a glass case. Crude, improvised, impossible. The placard, improvised sniper scope. Built by Corporal Brennan Calloway, Korean War, 1950. Used when conventional optics failed. Associated with 309 confirmed enemy kills. A teenage girl approached. Are you Brennan Calloway? I am. You built this? Yes. That's so cool. You're like a total badass. Brennan smiled, sad, tired. No, I was just a soldier doing a job. There's nothing cool about killing people. But you were fighting for freedom. I was fighting to stay alive and to keep my friends alive. What I did wasn't heroic. It was necessary. There's a difference. The girl looked confused. Brennan walked away. Outside, she sat on a bench. Washington, D.C. summer evening. Warm. So different from Korea. She thought about Elias, about Professor Harlow, about the 309. Had her kills changed anything? Korea was still divided. The war had solved nothing. What she knew, she'd done her duty. She'd survived, and she'd carried the weight for 65 years. That had to count for something. October 2015. Brennan fell in her home. Stroke. Massive. She lingered 3 days, unconscious. October 10th, 2015. 04:22 hours. She died. 89 years old. Her funeral, military honors, American flag, 7-gun salute. 300 people attended. Her gravestone, Livingston Cemetery, Montana. Dr. Brennan Calloway, 1926 to 2015, professor, soldier, teacher. The real story is what comes after. Epilogue, 30 years later, 2045, Fort Benning. Modern Army Sniper School. Instructor Sergeant First Class Maria Rodriguez addresses her class. Today, the ghost of chosen Corporal Brennan Calloway, Korean War. Who can tell me why we study her? A soldier. 309 confirmed kills, highest in American history. Correct, but that's not why we study her. Another. Built an improvised scope when equipment failed. Closer, but still not it. Rodriguez displays a holographic image. Brennan at 83, teaching. We study Corporal Calloway because she understood something most soldiers don't learn until too late. That killing has a cost. That being good at your job doesn't mean your job doesn't change you. She killed 309 and spent the rest of her life teaching that war should always be the last option. She's not a hero because she killed. She's a hero because she carried the weight with honesty and humility, never glorified it, never celebrated it, just acknowledged it and tried to make the world less likely to create more soldiers like her. That's what makes her worth studying, not the kills, the humanity she maintained despite those kills. Rodriguez pauses. Every one of you will face moral complexity in combat. You'll do things that are necessary but not good. Corporal Calloway teaches us you can do your duty and still question whether that duty was right. You can be an effective soldier and still be human. Don't forget that. The moment you stop feeling the weight is the moment you become a machine, and machines don't get to come home. Not really. Rodriguez displays Brennan's gravestone. The real story is what comes after. Remember that. Your war will end, and then you have to live with what you did in it. Make sure you can. 2045. Smithsonian Museum. A young girl, 12, stands before the scope, her grandmother beside her. Sarah Mitchell, the lieutenant who visited Brennan in 2010, now a retired colonel, 60. Grandma, did you know her? I met her twice, once before I deployed, once after. What was she like? Sad, wise, honest. She didn't lie about what war was. What did she say? That killing people changes you, even when it's necessary. You carry it forever. Did she regret it? She regretted that it was necessary, not that she did it. There's a difference. I don't understand. You will, when you're older. When you understand the world is more complicated than good guys and bad guys, that sometimes you do terrible things for good reasons, and doing those terrible things doesn't make you good or bad, just human, complicated human. The girl thinks. Was she a hero? Yes. Not because she killed, because after killing, she spent her life trying to make sure fewer people would have to. That's heroism, the real kind. They stand together, looking at the crude scope. 309 people, the girl says quietly. Yes, and she remembered every one. That's what made her different. She didn't forget. That's the weight of being good at something terrible. Would you have done it? I killed 6. That was enough. I can't imagine 309. But I understand why she did. She was saving lives. Was that worth 309 enemy lives? She wasn't sure. Even after 60 years, that uncertainty is what made her human.
Then they walk away, leaving the scope behind, leaving history behind, but carrying the lesson forward that war has costs, that killing leaves marks, that duty doesn't erase conscience, that Brennan Calloway killed 309 people and spent 65 years asking if it was worth it. She never found an answer. Maybe there isn't one. Maybe the question is the point. Maybe remembering to ask is what keeps us human.
In memory of all who carried impossible burdens with quiet dignity, to soldiers who did their duty and questioned it, to the 309 who never came home, and to those who killed in war and spent peace trying to end it. May we learn from their honesty. May we remember that the real story is what comes after. May we count the cost before we count on war.